Alright, hello everybody, Resonance here, and today I'm going to showcase one of my recent favorite indie games, Rivals of Aether. Rivals of Aether is a platform fighting game that feels like the sequel to Super Smash Bros. Melee that we've always wanted. The game is extremely well polished, and was clearly designed to be a competitive game from the very start. This gives us a very diverse roster of characters, and a set of mechanics that couldn't feel smoother to use. I'm a huge fan of the Super Smash Bros. Series, and although I do play very casually, I can really appreciate the depth of competitive Melee. So if you're like me, and you're either a casual or competitive fan of the franchise, then I think you'll find that Rivals of Aether is a breath of fresh air and certainly worth trying. The two major mechanic changes here are that instead of having a shield, every character has a counter that they have to time very carefully, and instead of ledge grabbing, you have to wall jump to get back on the stage. What sets Rivals of Aether apart ultimately though is the incredibly interesting roster of characters that each have their own unique mechanic. Without further ado though, let's play a quick game against a level 9 CPU to showcase the gameplay in Rivals of Aether. I'll explain how the characters work in more detail after the game. The guy's actually pretty good. This is going to be an interesting little challenge for me. Alright, local versus mode. Alright. Oh boy. Oh, jeez. So basically, Forsburn's gimmick is that he can clone himself, and that he also has a smoke screen that only he is invisible in. No! Got him. Ah! Got him. That's always so much fun to do. Ugh. Really like Crag. Although he's not really my playstyle, but I think that this character is super, super fascinating. My favorite character is Absa. That's so satisfying to use. Get him, Craig! No! Since you have a counter in this game, it's very easy to deal with, like, projectiles. If you're good. This game also has an awesome soundtrack. And just great pixel art. I don't know. Like, it's the type of game which I feel like if you can get past the fact that it's like an indie game maker game, which I don't think it should be any legitimate criticism whatsoever, this game is absolutely awesome. And it feels so good. Like, whether you're a casual or competitive fan of Melee or just similar games. Fun to play with friends, 4-player. Oh no, the counter! Got him! This game does have one of the best soundtracks. Oh! Nice. Alright, so... basically, I haven't had this much fun playing an indie game in a while. I first saw Rivals of Aether when I actually went to the Folsom Street Foundry in San Francisco with my coworkers, and I saw a bunch of people playing it in this giant projector. My eyes were glued to that screen for almost the entire night, and I couldn't wait to try it. The characters that really caught my eye were Crag and Forsburn, but honestly, all the other characters are really interesting and unique in themselves, and I will be showcasing them all a little bit later. Crag, as you saw in the last match, can throw a boulder, and then he can hit that boulder with any one of his attacks, or opposing players can do that, to actually fire a projectile out of it in the corresponding direction. Super interesting, right? He can also summon a pillar of rock to stand on, which helps him get back on the stage and reposition himself. Forsburn's gimmick is that he can clone himself and then hide himself in a smokescreen that only he is invisible in, allowing for a very tricky playstyle, even as a teleport too. So for the rest of today's livestream, I'm going to showcase each of the current 8 characters and various game modes, while periodically answering your questions from the chat between games. But before I get too into things, let me give my brief review. My overall verdict of this game is that it's a must-try for any casual or competitive fan of the Super Smash Bros. Franchise. It's honestly one of the best indie games I've played in a while, and I knew immediately from looking at it that this is a quality game. The character design is extremely unique, and when you actually play them, you realize how different they truly feel from characters that may share a single move within Melee. My only few criticisms are that the game doesn't have a ton of content, and the story mode can honestly be a bit of a roller coaster. Some of the AI opponents seem to have significantly better AI than the others, particularly Zetterburn and Forsburn's story, and the story itself is a bit all over the place. I wish the campaigns had a bit more variety in them, and I wish they also featured the unlockable characters. I also can't help but feel like the Abyss mode would also benefit from more variation, perhaps some slight randomization in the order of challenges, or maybe some more types of challenges overall. I would like some more multiplayer options too, perhaps a way to filter matches via ping. The game is a bit light on content right now, but the developers have confirmed that there are plenty more characters on the way, as well as other additions. I believe 6 new characters are confirmed for Rivals of Aether that will come out at some point in the not horribly distant future. Ultimately though, it doesn't make a bit of a difference that story mode is a bit lacking at times, because the final boss is great, the game has a ton of customization options, competitive tools, character depth, and gameplay polish in ways I can't even begin to describe. Feature complete is what this game truly is. While it needs a little bit more content, the amount of competitive tools and everything at your disposal is just unparalleled. It really is a feature-complete game. For just $15 on Steam, you can't beat the sheer amount of replay value and quality that Rivals of Aether provides. Overall, I would really recommend this game to both casual and competitive fans of the Super Smash Bros. Franchise. So stay tuned for more Rivals of Aether. I'm going to take a brief, 1-minute break now, and when I get back, I'd be happy to answer your questions in the chat and showcase the rest of the game. For those of you on YouTube, you can find a link to the second part of my Rivals of Aether gameplay in the video description below. This game is pretty badass. I am just glad that we get games this high quality, indie games to this day. Dan Fornes, man. I can't wait to play this game with my friends when they come over this weekend. We'll be right back. Gonna showcase some Abza, who's my favorite character. We'll be right back. Oh yeah, and also if you stick around and you're watching live, I will be giving out a copy of this game, which I paid for out of my own pocket. This is also one of those games where I heard the soundtrack and I was like, oh, alright, I need to buy this.